Porsche said we are past this point of no return, and I know they are past the point of no return because when I'm reading the press release, they're not talking about the range. They're talking about the lunch times of a family mid-size SUV. That's not going to be beneficial to me when I'm driving around in Atlanta. So I'm not going to be launching this vehicle day to day. They are past the point of no return. Therefore, Porsche, I hate that they are going down this route. I hate that they are in this predicament, but they have to learn. They have to learn from Fiat, Stellantis, Chrysler. They have to learn from all of these people. They have not learned from Mercedes. I'm not understanding why are we not learning. We think because our nameplate is going to push the agenda, right?
All right.
This is the Ken and Don show coming to you live. Your host with the most. This is Donald Seymour Jr. Can you make some noise?
All right, making some noise. That's right. This is the Ken and Don Seymour show. The Ken and Don show.
you gonna emphasize the Ken part.
All about me.
Oh, right. It's all about me. I'm the one who named.
He's over here.
I'm the one who named the show.
Sidekick. Okay.
I named the show.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah. All right.
So it's about me.
I'm the one who named the show. All right. So look, it's actually, you guys want to know the history of our name is from Kid and Play. So that's the lore of our name.
Okay.
Kid and Play. So it's Ken and Don.
Play.
Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna get into it. First off, we're gonna talk about the Porsche Cayenne. This is a new vehicle. We're gonna talk about the EV, right? The all new Porsche Cayenne EV. That's what we are talking about right now. And so yeah, we are talking about the Porsche Cayenne EV. We're gonna put this up on the screen now. Kenya. First off, we are on carscoops.com. And carscoops.com, you guys need to get your image viewer right. Come on, John, you got to do a little bit better than this. Anyway, what are your first thoughts on the visuals of the Porsche Cayenne? What's your first initial thoughts?
It looks, I ain't gonna lie, quite attractive.
Okay.
It really does.
You think so?
And I know it is attractive. I ain't gonna lie. And you know what I mean? I'm not a compact crossover or mid-size crossover guy. I like 3 rows. And but it looks really good. And at that's impressive. It looks honestly better than the gasoline version, the internal combustion engine version. And the man, it really, I say that in the lyric, Cadillac lyric, they look the best in their segment, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there is. Yeah, it looks good though. I will say that. I love everything about it. The headlights, its proportions, the length of it, the wheelbase, everything, is right about it.
Okay.
And it's just a very sleek looking car. Like, it looks like it has a low drag coefficient. If I was to just look at it and guess, it's got very smooth lines. I love the smooth front. I love how it's a very cohesive design. It's a good looking, very well proportioned vehicle. The interior, look, we already know I'm not here for, I don't care about your bragging rights on how much you can do with some
Stream real estate. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. I want something that is aesthetically pleasing to look at. I'd much rather have that and something that's practical, something that I don't have to take my eyes off the road to use, and something that I don't have to smudge my fingerprints on to use. I'd much rather have that, something with some topography, something that's reliable. I'd rather have that and something that's aesthetically pleasing. So I'd much rather be looking at a mixture of buttons and a screen instead of just pure screen.
Understandable.
And the rest of the interior, it just looks like a proper Porsche.
I agree.
you know. So,
Yeah, are you
but I
finished?
love the exterior design. Yeah, I'm finished pretty much. I mean, I love the exterior design. It looks better than the current internal combustion engine model of the Cayenne.
Okay, okay, okay.
That's for certain.
All right. My take on it is I do think the design is cohesive, like you said. I do think the front fascia is a little bit more attracted than the current Cayenne. That being said, I do believe the side profile is a little bit slab sided in that it it's you can kind of tell where they placed the battery at, right? It's a little bit slab sided for me, right? And maybe it's just the black graphics on the lower part that kind of bring it out, but I'm not a fan of that. Um, I do.
I love every single angle on it. I love the air scoops on the side, on the front of it.
I can't.
Uh,
I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that I felt like Porsche could have gave a better effort,
I,
in my
I
opinion.
love its silhouette. I
I
can't see anything they went wrong on. I'm kind of like, why is the internal combustion engine Cayenne not look this good? That's what I'm thinking. Cause
That's funny. You and me are on different parts of this, but
I love the silhouette. I don't know what you're talking about. Where the battery is
look,
going to
look,
be a
the battery,
skateboard
look, look, look,
chassis.
look,
It's
look,
going to
look.
be on the bottom.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell whether
And
maybe I'm seeing
and you
things
know
wrong.
well, yeah, you is. I don't know what you're looking at.
Maybe
Cause,
that's
'cause
what
what
I'm.
they did
Maybe
actually
yeah.
is they lowered the ride height of the car because they know that for one thing, it's already going to have a higher center of gravity. That coupled with extra weight is going to be a problem with handling.
Yeah.
So of course, just like they did with the model Tesla did with the Model X, they lowered the ride height. Of course, with the Model X, they lowered the ride height so much that you scrape the top of speed bumps with it. They lowered the ride height on this. I don't know how much lower, but they did lower it by like an inch or something like that. And 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 so since and I think it sits lower than from what I understand, the internal combustion engine Cayenne, but it maintains the same amount of headroom,
Yeah,
if not more.
understandable. But I'm not in full agreement, but I'm not in full disagreeing. I feel like the execution could have been done a little bit better. I
I don't know what you mean. You gotta point out
like
what you're
okay,
talking about,
like for
cause
me,
I'm
it's
not
the.
seeing it.
Do you see where my coach is located at?
Yes, the
Okay,
wheel
the
wells.
wheel wells, this black trim around the wheel wells, I'm not digging it. I think that should have been body color
Okay, that can be probably changed.
in the
When you
configurator.
specking the car
Yeah,
out, when you building it out,
yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
configuring your own car,
But
it could be changed more than likely.
I think overall, it's not a bad design, but I'm not impressed by it. All right, moving
Come
on.
on, what looks better? What looks better?
The Monster
Don't say nothing
CS90,
crazy.
Monster
Come on, man.
CS90,
Come on, man.
the
That's a
Monster
3-row.
CS90 still look more
Eh,
attractive than this.
okay,
All right,
okay,
so there
okay.
you go. All right, so we're gonna
That's a
be,
mid-size 3-row. This is not.
but it's still more attractive and cheaper. All right, so
But you can't compare this to the Porsche. You can't compare that to a Porsche. So I'm saying, what looks better? The
what?
Lyric. I was thinking you maybe gonna say the Cadillac Lyric or something.
Okay, you know what? I'll go for the lyric. The lyric is way more, I feel, cohesive design than the lyric. I mean, than the Porsche. Like, if holistically speaking, like if I was to go after a straight design, it would be lyric.
Okay,
All right,
that's fair.
uh,
I can see that.
moving on.
I can see that.
With Kenya,
Yeah.
Porsche seemed to be stuck on the launch control. Like when we read the press release, why is Porsche so stuck on the launch control of a family mid-size SUV? Nothing else. Nothing else. Now let me finish this. Nothing else. They don't release any other information in the press release, but it's launch control and horsepower. Now, mind you, this is going to be a vehicle used for daily commute and soccer moms. Why haven't they released pertinent information concerning this family mid-size SUV. Tell me, Kenya, why?
Well, I think it's the same mistake that we're gonna get on it. The Jeep Recon, when we get on there after this, it's the same mistake all of them are making. They think that horsepower alone is what's gonna sell. It never fails. The first thing they speak about with the Jeep Recon is 650 horsepower. That's the first metric I've seen from it. 650 horsepower, 0 to 60 in this amount of time, and it's always the case. It's something that I think that automakers are not really learning their lessons from. Now, with the that Cherry car, prototype that is not built yet, not in production yet, that supposedly has 800 miles of range. The first metric you heard from that car is the range. I don't even remember how much horsepower it had, but I remember that 800-mile range, and I think that automakers are just not really learning the lesson. They think that horsepower by itself sells. Horsepower sells with internal combustion engine cars when it's cheap horsepower. That's true. But that's when it's cheap horsepower. A Dodge Challenger, Charger, Mustang, Camaro, bunch of horsepower for cheap.
I'll tell you, yeah.
That sells. That sells.
I'm
But
go
when
ahead,
it comes
Kenya.
to electric cars, they have to understand it's going to have to be a lot more than that. And they're not really learning the lesson. But I think it's just they can't really do much else about it either at the same time, because the what would get them to where they want to be with these vehicles is not possible yet due to just the lack of infrastructure, and these are things that are out of the automaker's control. And the charge times, they can do a little something about that, to a certain degree. Um, but that comes down to, you know, DC fast charging, wherever that's available. In the United States, it's not as common as a regular level 2 charger, um, and it's not something that's in the automaker's control. So the only thing they have to sell these vehicles is, you know, well, it has 1100 horsepower. In this case, the turbo model has 1100 horsepower,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 0 to 60 time is what? Like, is it
Two
2.7
yeah,
seconds
two
or
point
something like
four is let me see, 2.4
2.4?
seconds. And my question
It's
is
the most powerful production model that Porsche has ever made,
exactly, and my
period.
question to Porsche is why in the world should we care so much about a family mid-size SUV having this much horsepower and being this quick out the
Because
range?
if you don't, what would sell it? Just think
And that's
about
my
that. If
point.
you don't,
And that segued into
what?
my point. It's overcompensating for its deficiencies. It don't have good range, and if it did have good range, that would be the first thing that they place in this press release. So I'm willing to bet that the range is no more than 320, right? The full range, and really with an EV of this size and driving it comparably to a traditional ICE vehicle, I would have to say that I'm willing to bet that that range will drop down to 280 easy, right? And it's not. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet in everyday driving, right? I'm willing to bet that the range will drop down to 280. I'm willing to bet that the driving range is no more than 350, and with traditional driving styles in Atlanta and Memphis, it's 280.
Okay,
And
that's fair enough.
And that's why
Because
they're not promoting it. But go ahead, Kenya.
and I was gonna say the Taycan, which uh, the Taycan is smaller
Mm-hmm.
than the Panamera, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think that I almost would say that I almost have to disagree in terms of what you said about them learning their lesson. I think that they did learn a lesson. I'm gonna argue that.
And what do you mean by that?
And here's what I'm gonna say: the Taycan is smaller than the Panamera, right? And it was advertised to have 300 miles of range,
And it did.
and it didn't. Okay, smaller than the Panamera, so much smaller that it wasn't that much smaller on the outside. It's like 3 inches shorter. And the Panamera now is probably even longer than that. It's probably like maybe like 4 or 5 inches, maybe. The Taycan was too cramped for Dwayne the Rock Johnson to even fit inside. He can't even fit inside of a Panamera.
A Taycan.
Not the Panamera, but the Taycan. He can't fit inside the Taycan, but he can fit inside of a Panamera, I'm pretty sure. So here's the thing. This electric Cayenne is actually got a 5-inch longer wheelbase than an internal combustion engine Cayenne. And it's 2 inches longer than an internal combustion engine Cayenne. So they flipped. The mistake that they made with the Taycan, they're trying to correct with this vehicle. Assuming that you want to call the Taycan the Panamera, the electric Panamera counterpart. Assuming that's what you want to call it, because they're priced close to the same. So what they're doing with this is that we know that the Taycan started off strong with its sales, but it faded away. I think people, Porsche recognized that maybe people started to figure out that at that price point, they rather have something that's also fast, but still practical and still handles very well. And the Panamera, I think, way less than the Taycan, even though it's a bigger vehicle. So here we are with the Cayenne, the electric Cayenne. What they did was they made it bigger. You know where that wheelbase length is going to go? To the interior. And a bigger battery pack.
True that.
And so the Cayenne electric is about, it is 1,000 pounds heavier than a Cayenne. And the Cayenne S, which has a V8, 468 horsepower. The base Cayenne electric has 435 horsepower, but the base Cayenne electric is 800 pounds heavier than an internal combustion engine Cayenne S, which has a V8.
Okay, let me
So
go ahead. I'm sorry, King.
So I'm saying that they probably did learn their lesson. Well, that's what I'm saying. And they try to correct some things that's going to help it. So what they're trying to find out, is it actually going to carry the momentum? Because the Taycan started off very well and then it faded away.
Okay.
Are these corrections going to be enough to carry that momentum for good?
No.
Because
No.
okay, you're saying no.
Short answer is no. One thing I'm gonna say this, Kenya. I like the way you came from your perspective. Shout out to you. Right? You came from you understood that their process and their mindset and how they thought things through. So shout out to you. And I believe you are spot on as to why they did what they did with the wheelbase, the lengthening, the process and everything. I think you are spot on with that. However, if what you're saying is true, it still doesn't compute. I think they don't understand, again, that they haven't learned a lesson from the Taycan. And by learning their lesson from the Taycan, I don't believe they understand that demographic is not a serious demographic that we need to be chasing or addressing, right? That's not the demographic that we need to be addressing and conforming our product line to at all, period. End of story. I don't believe that. And they haven't learned their lessons from that. The Taycan was an artificial hype, right? And it was artificially hyped by a demographic that was uneducated and cared more about the influence and the hype of how things appeared on the outside as opposed to the functionality. Now we're dealing with the real consumers, right? The Taycan have not sold well in China, right? Which is a EV laden country, right? EVs in general are not doing well in China, right? And China is really the momentum is the birthplace. I mean, it's not the birthplace, but for lack of a better word, it's the ground zero for EVs. And so, if EVs is not doing well in the EV laden country, and it's
Well,
not
EV
doing,
imports aren't doing well over there.
yeah, and also not doing well in America. So my thing is,
They're not doing.
here's my thing. They have not learned their lesson. They should have forego this Cayenne. They should have probably endowed it with a 4-cylinder turbo engine, range extender, and we would have had something on our hand. I think this would have been a way more sellable option. But I don't think they learned their lesson, and I don't think, and this is going to segue into the next question, right? Do you think it's going to do well with numbers in China and America, Kenya? Yes or no? And tell me why.
That is the question. Now that is the question. I don't think that it's going to do worse than the Taycan did, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Um, Now this is a very complicated question because there was a lot of hype when the Taycan was released.
Yes.
You're right. It was, and it sold way better than the Panamera. It sold better than the Panamera did for a while. For the whole entire first generation of the and second generation of the Panamera, the Taycan outsold the Panamera only up until the very end of the second generation Panamera. And now it's been underneath the Panamera ever since.
Again, artificially inflated numbers by a consumer base that is not serious about the product. They just want the name tag of having the first Porsche EV. Now that that group is now out the way, we are now dealing with real consumers. So if we are dealing with real
Okay.
consumers now, how would the real consumers buy in? Will they buy into the EV of the Cayenne?
Well, well here's the thing. Let's look at the numbers because I'm going to crunch some numbers here. The base Cayenne electric is starts at 109,000.
Mm-hmm.
435 horsepower base engine, or not base engine, but base horsepower performance. And I gave you the dimensions. It's a little bit longer than the standard Cayenne. Now, here's what I'm going to do. The Cayenne S, however, which has a V8 in it,
Mm-hmm.
has 468 horsepower. It starts off at 106 grand.
So $3,000 lesser than the base EV.
Yeah, and it's 800 pounds lighter though. Now,
Oh Lord, you gonna feel that
now
weight?
here's yeah. I mean, that's real. Yeah, I'm not saying you won't, but I'm what I'm doing is so. Here's the thing, like it's not going to outsell the standard Cayenne because the standard Cayenne is $89,000, a 350 horsepower V6. And it's not going to outsell that. And the question is, how's it going to do against the Cayenne S?
Mm.
So now it's more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I to answer that question, it's quite complicated. I ain't gonna lie. How's it gonna sell? I think it's gonna sell. I don't know what Porsche's sales targets are for this vehicle, but I think they're going to for a while, unless they update the Cayenne, which is really due for an update because it's been out since the 2019 model year. The internal combustion engine Cayenne has
Yeah,
been out since the 2019 model year. So an update, a redesign for that should be right around the corner. Should
and
be.
it's gonna be the same
But
as the EV. It's gonna look like the EV, but with a bigger um grill in the front fascia.
hopefully, hopefully,
So that's gonna be a problem.
might be right. Now, I'm expecting the performance of those gasoline engines to be better. So, all right.
So
Now,
what's your final thoughts,
I don't
Ken?
want to say the wrong thing. Now, I'm trying to answer that question. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not gonna outsell the Cayenne's, S. or definitely not a base Cayenne. But I don't think it's yeah. That's my. But I don't think it's going to be a complete failure either.
Mm. And that's where you and I both are on the opposite side of the spectrum.
But hey, I could be totally wrong.
You
Okay,
are
I
totally
I
wrong.
I do think for the first, it's going to have some momentum. Okay. Now here's what's complicated. Here's what's complicated. Here's where I could be wrong. The incentives that you get gone ever since what September 30th.
Yeah. So it's no value in no value proposition by the government to buy into this vehicle. Period. In America.
And I don't think and Porsche is going to incentivize it. I
Okay.
don't. Not in America.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't.
So we gonna close out,
So
but
I'm gonna say it's not gonna sell as well as the standard Cayenne
that's
has or
understandable.
the
That's
Cayenne
kind
base
of
model.
given.
But is it gonna be a complete like disaster? I don't think it's gonna be a disaster. But it's gonna be barely enough to justify keeping in production.
Okay, I can get down
They're
with
gonna
that.
be doing some things to try to keep it in, to make it justifiable to customers.
Okay,
They're gonna do that.
I can get down with that. Okay, I'm gonna close out with the question: do you think the Cayenne EV will sell well, or how you think it will sell in the marketplace? First off, I feel for Porsche because Porsche have poured in a lot of resource and capital into this battery and this EV platform, and they have lost out to the point where now they're pulling out of different race organizations because they don't have the capital to maintain, right, certain race um organizations. That says a lot, especially about a company who is built on racing. And I say that to say I think they're going to fail tremendously. I think they haven't learned from the Taycan and their confusion, um the ideal of people fascinating with the first EV with the general public. And the general public is not going to buy this over the ice. And that being said, when they do change the ice and they do um give it a mid-cycle refresh or an all new platform, and the platform is so happens to be the exact same as the EV, then we're gonna have an issue on our hand. The EV is not gonna do well. It's not gonna have good numbers, and I reckon this is going to set Porsche back by a landslide, and I reckon that this is going to not do well, and this is going to be a total dumpster fire for Porsche, and I hate to see that.
Big words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate to see that, but that's how it goes. And so,
Well, let me interject something.
huh?
Here's a complicated thing about this that you have to remember too, Donald, is
Yeah,
that in the middle of development, if they figure out that something isn't working and they know that if they continue, like, okay, this is not going to be a successful business, proposition. The thing is that you still have to sell it in order to mitigate those losses that you're gonna get.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
now you have to sell it now because
Because
you in the
now,
middle of you already done spent the money on
yeah,
it.
you
So you
pass,
have to get something back from what
and that's
you
the L
done
they're gonna have to take.
invested.
They are past the point of no return, Kenyon. And that's what you're just saying now is what happened to Porsche. They are past the point of no return, right? And so now Porsche said we are past this point of no return, and I know they are past the point of no return because when I'm reading the press release, they're not talking about the range. They're talking about the lunch times of a family mid-size SUV. That's not going to be beneficial to me when I'm driving around in Atlanta, right? So I'm not going to be launching this vehicle day to day. So they are past the point of no return. I hate that for Porsche. I hate that they are going down this route. I hate that they are in this predicament, but they have to learn. They have to learn from Fiat, Stellantis, Chrysler. They have to learn from all of these people. They have not learned from Mercedes. I'm not understanding why are we not learning. We think because our nameplate is going to push the agenda, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I want to interject
Yeah, go ahead.
because you were right about, and I don't want to keep carrying on, but you're right about the fact that why are we not learning these lessons? All EV counterparts, all EVs that have an internal combustion engine counterpart sell less than their internal combustion engine
Far less.
counterpart.
Far less.
US, we can go down the list, the iX7, uh, Audi, and their electric vehicles, they all sell less than their internal combustion engine counterparts. So Lyric and the XT5, which is the updated, the redesigned one, is not over here, so we ain't gonna be able to know what that would have did. But all of them sell less. Porsche was the only exception with the Taycan. So they thinking they got something figured out.
They don't.
So they thought they could try it again
No, that's
and
what
do it.
that's a hoop dream, and that's what we call, what's the word I'm looking for? Not phony baloney, but anyway, it was a one time thing, right? And that's all it was. And they just caught fire, and it's something that every company wants. Is when that fire starts to die down, it takes humility to understand that, okay, now we need to move past this product, right? Because this product is now a leech, a parasite in our company, resources, financial capital. Now we need to relinquish this product. And for whatever what reason, Porsche decided not to do that. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So that's the Ken and Dunn show. Leave your
Tell you one
comments.
thing,
Go ahead, Ken. What
that
about that?
718 electric car is gonna flop if they ever do that. I guarantee you that.
But they're not they're planning just to do a carryover and allow Audi to get it. That's their plans. And so if Audi get the car, I think it may do better than Porsche, right? But I still don't think it's going to do extremely well. And that's just my thoughts on it. That being said, this is the Ken and Dunn show. Show your love. Leave comments in the comment section below.
In the comment section.
Exactly.
Or straight right down the pipe and subscribe if you like.
Exactly. The Ken and Dunn show. This is Donald. Kenya, make some noise. We are out.
See you next time.